Hello and welcome to IMPACTability, the Nonprofit Leaders Podcast. This is a show that explores the landscape of the nonprofit organization, big and small, offers some incredibly helpful information and resources, and gives nonprofits a place to share ideas and get advice. Our show is sponsored by Sukup Strategic Solutions, offering a wide variety of services to help nonprofits maximize their impact. We're excited to bring you the stories and advice of leaders in the nonprofit sector to help you succeed in your nonprofit. So let's get started.
Welcome to IMPACTability, the Nonprofit Leaders Podcast. I'm Cheryl Sukup, and I'll be your host for today's episode. We're glad you joined us today. Our episode today features Maricela Morado, the CEO of Area Agency on Aging for Southwest Florida. Maricela, thank you so much for joining me today as a guest on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
First, let's learn a little bit about you. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what got you started in nonprofit work to begin with?
Yeah, definitely. I can share. I became a teen parent at 16. And so as many people, when they're looking for help, are just afraid and not knowing where to go. And so I really ended up finding United Way, or United Way found me. And so that was my initial start with nonprofit. And like I was sharing with you earlier, nonprofits have been a lifeline for me. And I know that they are a lifeline for so many people. But that was my initial journey with United Way. And then again, as a teen parent, Healthy Start, Healthy Families, ACT, Abuse Counseling and Treatment, all those agencies definitely played a big role. And so I decided, the nonprofit world is helping people. And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to help people just like they help me. And so that's sort of how I ended up in the nonprofit world.
I love that. That is great. I feel like so many of us in the nonprofit world have found our way into nonprofits because we've been helped. I know, I had a child with disabilities, as you know, and we needed so much help when my daughter was young. And I feel like if I had not had my daughter, if I had not been helped by all of these different nonprofits, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today either. So I think you're right. It can be such a lifeline for so many of us. And I'm so grateful for all the help that various nonprofits gave to my family. You can't raise a child with a significant disability or special health care needs without having nonprofits help you. I just don't even think it's possible in this society. So I'm super grateful too for the help that I've had. So thank you for sharing that with me. And I look forward to hearing more about how you turned your personal experience with nonprofits into a professional experience. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the leadership role that you're in today. What brought you to the Area Agency on Aging for Southwest Florida?
So I'm a very goal-oriented person. And so I was at a stage in my career where I was like, okay, my CEO is not going to retire anytime soon. So I need to look for that next upper level leadership position. And so I found the position at the Area Agency on Aging as Director of Programs and Planning. And I met with the CEO at the time. She interviewed me. We saw that, it would be a good fit for me to join the agency in this Director of Programs and Planning position. Day one of my new role was coming into an office full of boxes, and my CEO at the time tells me, okay, this is going to be your office, and just go through the documents and just get acquainted. But really, I didn't have any direction because she didn't know any better either. Didn't know, she was new in her role as well. And so that's how I came into the area agency. And what's kept me there is that 4 months into my position as director, my team would come to my office and just peek through the window and be like, okay, you're still here. And it still gives me goosebumps because I felt horrible. I'm like, okay, so they haven't had a consistent person to rely on, to jump things off and stuff. And so that just gave me goosebumps. I'm like, okay, I'm not leaving this agency until I know that it's in a better place than how I found it. And so, the position for CEO came about. The board at the time did a national search. And since I was interim, I said, okay, well, and my team kept encouraging me. They're like, you better put your name in the hat, for the CEO position. And so I did. I put my name in the hat. The board went through all of the processes, extensive reviewing. The secretary has to do her approval as well. And here I am now, 5 years into working at the Area Agency on Aging. It's definitely been a roller coaster, but I enjoy it because I have a wonderful team to work with.
That's so great. It's so amazing when your team encourages you to apply for the position. I mean, that's a sign right there that you have really succeeded in the position that you were in prior to this one, that you meant enough to them as a leader that they would want you to take that next step. So that's so great.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your 5 years. Did you have your anniversary already?
Yes, on September 1st. That was my anniversary.
Oh,
yeah.
Congratulations. That wasn't too long ago. So that is great. It's hard to believe because I remember when you came into the position. It seems like it was yesterday, but I know that you've accomplished so much since then. So on the other hand, it seems like it was a long time ago too, but all right. Well, tell me more about your organization. Let's hear about the mission and some of the things that you've been able to accomplish over the last 5 years. And then I'll ask you about things that you want to do. So let's hear about the mission and some great accomplishments that you're proud of.
Yes, definitely. So at the Area Agency on Aging, our mission is to empower older adults and adults with disabilities to create their own path to positive aging. Nobody wants to age in an institution. They want to age at home. I know I want to age at home. So that is our mission. Just last year, we served over 81,000 individuals through our helpline contacts, but that's not the only thing that we do. We also serve through our lead agencies over 280,000 home delivered meals. We also served almost 6,000 Medicare beneficiaries and assisting them through our SHINE program, which SHINE stands for Serving Health Insurance Needs of Elders, which, in Florida, we like to be a little bit different. So we call it SHINE, but nationally, this is a national program. It's called SHIP. And what it is free, unbiased Medicare counseling. We're going to give you the tools and the resources and the information necessary to make the best informed Medicare decision. Because, we all know that neighbor that is reaching that 65-year age and just gets all this paperwork and just doesn't know where to start or even where to begin. And so we're that guidance to that. We've also accomplished a lot. A lot of people are recovering from Hurricane Ian. And we were blessed to have received some Hurricane Ian assistance money from Volunteer Florida. And we were able to assist many clients in being able to have a livable space. For example, we assisted a survivor whose mobile home had been destroyed, at least the portion where her living room was at. And she had been living with a tarp for over 2 years, not knowing that there was these resources in the community. And so that's like one of my biggest things. I want people to know us before they need us, so that whenever it comes to that point that they need us, they've already known of all the things that we would be able to assist them, even if in that point in time they don't need us. And so we were able to help her convert her damaged living room area into an enclosed lanai. And her daughter emailed us and let us know, she said, you haven't just restored her hope and her home, you've restored her faith in humanity. And so that just really drives into what it is that we want to accomplish. We want to make sure that people know to know that we are here and to have faith that, we're going to do everything that we can or connect them to the resources and information to find that restoration of faith and humanity and everything. We also assist veterans.
Wait, can I just stop you for 1 second? That's a lot right there. I mean, you're talking about like hundreds of thousands of people that you've helped, and narrowing it down to one story of hope and restoration of faith in people and, and their community is like, that's amazing. And what an inspirational story to be able to, to know that you had that person that you helped, but then multiply that by so many. I mean, my own family has been helped by your agency, and I really appreciate that too. So anyway,
Yeah.
the work that you do is so important, and I want you to continue, but I just had to stop and say that for just a moment. So
Yeah, and that's just one of, hundreds and thousands of stories that we hear.
Mhm.
And, we don't expect people to respond and tell us, hey, you did a great job. We're doing the work
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
believe in the mission and in the vision. But it's always
Mhm.
nice to say, okay, it did make a difference. And that's what I tell my
Mhm.
team, because we have a wonderful helpline team, but they don't
Mhm.
always get to see that end story of how
Yeah.
what they're doing at that moment truly made an
Mhm.
impact, unless the
Yeah.
client calls back and says, thank you,
Yeah.
or just hearing that it made a difference. But we also assist veterans. So a
Mhm.
story about a veteran is, we're just going to call this veteran B, and their spouse were borrowing money from family. They did not in family, and this was borrowing money to keep the lights on, to make ends meet,
Mhm.
not realizing that there's a program called the Veteran Directed Care Program that we administer.
Mhm.
It is through the VA, so they do have to initially apply through the VA, but then the VA will refer them to us, and then we will start the payroll process, to ensure that the caregiver that the veteran chooses gets paid. And
Yeah.
so the spouse is the caregiver for veteran B. And so we informed them of the program. They went through the whole process, and now the spouse, which is the caregiver, is being paid, and it now has money to be able to not have to borrow money from families, because now they're going to
Yeah.
be able to afford keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
And so
That's so great.
that's another story. And our services again are here to provide that support and that resources. That's our entry point. We
Mhm.
also have direct oversight over the federal and state dollars that come into the 7 counties. So we cover a 7 county region that
Mhm.
spans from Sarasota, Charlotte, DeSoto, which is one of our rural counties, Lee County, Collier County, Hendry, and Glades. And Hendry
Mhm.
and Glades are also some of our very rural counties. And
Yeah.
we know that the aging community is growing. Here in Florida, we know that over 1,000 individuals are moving to the state of Florida, and 20% of that is older adults. And who doesn't want to live in Southwest Florida? And so we do get a large number of those older adults coming into Southwest Florida. And so
Mhm.
our services are here to provide that empowerment and that information. In addition to what I've shared, we also provide health and wellness. So we do know that falls is one of the risks of either, later on becoming very ill, not being able to get up again, and lead to cause of death. And so we do provide low impact exercise programs. Again, everything that we do is free. And these are evidence-based workshops. They not only help with reducing falls, but also in reducing that social isolation and loneliness part, because now we're having people come together, enjoying a nice Tai Chi class, but making new friends, making new
Mhm.
acquaintances. So we're also combating that. And with the professional public, we provide elder abuse prevention education, but
Mhm.
also to older adults and anybody in the community that would want to learn more about those red flags and how to prevent elder abuse. We can definitely
Mhm.
provide that education. So I know I
That's
gave you a
great.
lot.
It's so much. It's so much. I'm gonna tell you two things that like maybe don't even seem like they're like targeted to the things that you just talked about. Just to illustrate, I'm gonna tell you three things. Just to illustrate like how I have intersected with your agency. So one, I mentioned I have a daughter with disabilities. I had a daughter with disabilities. And so the Aging and Disability Resource Center, first of all, I have told so many people to call the Aging and Disability Resource Center. And just being able to direct people there to understand what the resources in the community are, that's a big deal in and of itself. But my daughter was on the Medicaid waiver program, and when she was turning 21, we had this difficult circumstances because we were with one state agency, and as she was hitting this age of 21, her services were going to change and shift very dramatically, and we needed to be on a different waiver program. And the way forward to get on that waiver program was through your agency. So there's for people with developmental disabilities in the state of Florida, they need to go through your program to be able to access so many other services. So that is one way that I intersected. The other way is I was over at your office for an event around the holidays. You had a holiday mixer, and I just happened to be walking by the front desk. I stopped and said hello and was chatting, and I saw a flyer for a caregiver course that you were offering. And I was like, oh, my stepdad needs this. So I never thinking that he would ever do it. I give him information sometimes, and it, both my parents, and a lot of times there's no interest, but I texted him a picture of this flyer, and he actually went to this caregiver course, and he loved it. And I feel like it turned things around for him in many ways, like just mentally how he thought about being my mom's caregiver. So that was a great help to me personally too, in our family. And then finally, I want to say that I'm working with another nonprofit organization who really needed some information about how seniors, veterans who are seniors, could access certain types of services, particularly assisted living. And a lot of the jargon and this organization they are not involved with Medicaid or Medicare or Medicaid waiver or any of those programs. And so the board was trying to develop strategy, and they really needed to understand all these programs. And so I came to your organization and was able to grab a bunch of information that helped them craft a plan forward. And then I introduced you guys. So I think there's so many things there. You have all of these forward-facing programs that everybody knows you for. And then you have all these other things that you do that are underneath the surface. Yes. And you're a connector. You bring in funding, and then you end up helping all of these other nonprofits deliver services out in the community. So it's a lot. You do a lot.
Yeah. And thank you for you sharing that, because I did forget to share that, we are that entry point. Somebody needs those in-home services or for that Medicaid waiver, in your example. Yes, we are definitely that entry point. So it's always good. And I always say, and this is my catchphrase every time, know us before you need us. Even if they don't need that service right now, just coming to us as the entry point, getting their name on the wait list, that's a start. And then also the caregiver support groups. That is huge. And I am so glad that your dad was able to take advantage of that, because a lot of time caregivers, they don't take care of themselves because they're worried and always taking care of their loved one. And so we always say, you can't pour out of an empty cup. So you got to take care of yourself. So I am just so happy that he was able to take advantage of that.
If there was one piece of advice you could give another nonprofit CEO or an aspiring nonprofit leader who wants to be a CEO, what would that piece of advice be?
Leadership isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being able to create a space where people can feel that they can share their wisdom, and that not only will their wisdom that is being shared emerge, but everyone in the room is emerging. Because like I tell my team, I am not successful if our whole team is not successful. And so I really think that just them knowing, emerging or leaders out there, that is my biggest thing, is that we are not the smartest person in the room. There's other people in the room that are smarter than us. And also hiring people that are smarter than us.
Yeah. That's a really good piece of advice. Yeah. Tell me also, is there something that you can think back to from when you first started your nonprofit leadership journey, is there one thing that you wish you knew then that you know now?
I think is knowing that, my story,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be, I shouldn't hide that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't hide my past, but let it fuel my purpose, and use it as a superpower. Because a lot of times we may be ashamed of what we went through and we might hide it, not realizing that it could potentially help somebody else and encourage them and empower them to want to do better, do more, or something. You just don't know how that it can impact somebody else. And I learned that later on. I mean, not early on until now. And now I'm being more open and sharing about my story. And I'm seeing that it's truly making more of a difference to share with others, that I didn't get to the role that I'm at from one day to another. It took a lot of hard work. Like I said, I'm very goal oriented. I love to always learn and everything. So it's not just from one day to another, and it wasn't easy peasy. It took a lot
Yeah.
of hard work. So I think that is just making sure that they're using not hiding from their past, but
Yeah.
letting fuel their purpose.
I love that. I love that you make it your superpower.
Yes.
I personally think your story is very inspiring. Like, to me, to hear that you were a teen mom and that you had, nonprofits that helped you as a lifeline. I mean, that makes me like you even more.
Thank you. Yeah, I've always
Yeah,
been, a go-getter. And I think it is also because I'm the oldest in my entire family.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn English first. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've always had to be the connector for everyone in my family and the
Yeah.
translator, everything. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that also drives me into just nonprofit being my thing,
Yeah.
being my space, because I can continue to do that because that's what I've
Yeah.
always done. So thank you.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Well, tell me, I feel like there are so many resources out there that are available to nonprofit leaders, leaders of any kind, really, but there's a lot in the nonprofit space specifically. And so one thing that can be helpful is to share what's been helpful to you. So are there any resources that have helped you along the way? Maricela, what would be something that you could share with others that that was helpful to you?
Yeah. So in my CEO journey,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of self-learning.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if anybody that's new to leadership, if they have a network of other individuals that are doing the same role, for example, for us here at the AAA, every county in the state of Florida is covered by an area agency on aging. So I
Mm-hmm.
have 10 other CEOs across the state that I can bounce things off of. So that is
Yeah.
truly important, and has been truly a resource. So I would say if you have somebody else that's in doing similar, like, a similar nonprofit, piggyback on them, find a mentor. All these 10
Mhm.
individuals have been my mentors. Also,
Mhm.
FGCU has been truly, they have different badge programs, different leadership programs.
Mhm.
I'm signed up for one that's coming up in October, I believe. But just being part of that network, and they offer like coaching, and so I was able to get coaching from the FGCU, one of their programs, and that was also truly impactful, because that my coach was an executive, and he's also
Mhm.
a professor at FGCU, and so that truly was very helpful. Yeah, and just again, mentorship, just finding that mentor that inspires you, and ask them questions.
I think being an executive can be a very lonely experience if you don't have that peer network, because sometimes it feels like there's nobody safe to talk to, but yet you're all going through so much of the same. And
Yes.
so,
I,
anyway, I think that's a really good resource.
Definitely, I could not agree more. A lot of like the community education has taught me
Hmm.
so much, as my degrees. But just
Yeah.
being able to have that peer group, like you've mentioned, is definitely important. Um, Leadership classes, different counties have different leadership classes. Like for us,
Yeah.
we serve 7 counties. Those have also been truly, truly beneficial because you get to connect with other leaders that
Yeah.
could build that peer support group.
All right. Now we're going to take a quick break and we will be back with you shortly.
One of the biggest challenges facing nonprofits today is securing grants. Where do I find information on grants? How do I write a grant? How do I submit the grant? And of course, the dreaded midnight deadlines. At Sukup Strategic Solutions, we have a team of expert grant writers with years of experience writing hundreds of grants for nonprofits just like yours. Visit our website today at sukupstrategicsolutions.com and schedule a free consultation about your grant writing needs. That's SOUKUP strategicsolutions.com. Let's work together and to bring in grant funding to fuel your mission.
Welcome back. I'm with Maricela Morado, the CEO of Area Agency on Aging for Southwest Florida. Maricela, let's continue our conversation. What is the biggest surprise you've had in the last few months and why?
For us, we've been very reliant, at least I know for the 5 years that I've been at the agency, on our federal and state dollars. But with everything that's happening, it was sort of like an eye-opener, but a surprise too, that we need to really look at diversifying our funds. And so we've now, we've contracted with Sukup to really expand on our grant writing opportunities and looking at how to increase our fundraising efforts. And that is because we cannot just be heavily reliant on federal and state dollars, knowing that our services are needed by so many people in the community. And so if, God forbid something happens, that we can be able to sustain our programs and services for the sake of our community. So I think that was a surprise. Maybe it's not for other leaders that have been in leadership for a long time, but me as a new leader, I still consider myself a new leader, even though in my role, I've been in it as a CEO for 3 years. I think that was just a surprise for us. And so my team and I were definitely brainstorming how can we make sure that our agency will be sustainable, whatever the circumstances.
Yeah, that's really wise. I think there's a lot of agencies that were surprised, and I think the one good thing that will come out of, well, maybe there's going to be more than one good thing, but I think a good thing that's going to come out of these changes that we're experiencing in the nonprofit sector is that more nonprofit leaders are focused on that sustainability piece and thinking about diversification of revenue sources and how to put a plan B into action. If something happens unexpectedly, how are you making sure that you're able to continue to deliver on the promise that you made to the community? So I think that's a great thing to share. Well, if you had to write a book about your experience working with nonprofits, what would you write about?
It's not an easy job. People definitely don't do it for the money. It's truly because they're driven, to want to serve people. But the value that nonprofits bring to the communities is just invaluable. And again, I would just go back to how so many were impactful in my life. And I don't know where I would be. Maybe I wouldn't have gone back to school, finished school, and gotten my associates, then my bachelor's, then my master's, and hopefully one day I'll have my doctorates. But it's like, if it wasn't because a nonprofit was there to lend a hand when I needed it, then I don't know where I would be. And so I think my focus would be in truly the value that each nonprofit brings. And how all of them working together can transform the life of somebody.
I hope you write that book.
Oh, thanks. You.
If you want somebody to read it behind the scenes, I volunteer.
Thank you.
All right. So I have just a couple of other questions. One is, What you've talked about a lot of really great characteristics that are important ingredients into a successful nonprofit leader. What would you say are the most important strengths or personality traits for somebody to be succeeding in the nonprofit sector in general?
I think some of the characteristics would be to be a good listener. Just like, we're not the smartest person in the room. But it's truly important to be a good listener, and not a listener to let me just hear what you're saying so that I can have a response ready, but truly listen to and hear what that person is saying. It is definitely one of the biggest characteristics that I would say. Again, not being the smartest person in the room, truly treating everyone, the same way. It doesn't matter where they are in their levels of careers, like treating them all of the same. I think is also truly an important and inspiring characteristics. Like I tell my team, you're in a leadership position, so now everyone is looking up to you. So the way you treat everyone, that's a reflection of you, of the agency and that's you're leaving those seeds of inspiration in those people. So you want to leave a positive one, not one that's not going to be motivational.
Because you don't know, maybe that person that's looking up to you might be the next program director or CEO or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
They could serve on your board someday. Who knows what, what I mean? Who knows what that person might later do. So,
Yeah, definitely. And then I think the last thing I would say is authenticity. That creates a deeper connection, not only with our team, but also with those that we serve.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that's true. And you have a great deal of authenticity. And I think the fact that you're now willing to, be open and share your story makes you all that more authentic. And really, it also is like really inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like we get, and I think also what led me to want to share more of my story is one day I so happened to walk into the reception, and this gentleman came in, and he was so ashamed to say that he needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because his wife had recently passed, and his wife is the one that handled all of the bills, everything. So he was so embarrassed to say, I haven't managed things well since she's passed. I just it took a lot for him to say, I just need help to get me through, at least for the next couple of months. And so I, just shared, sometimes we need help and it's okay. It doesn't mean you're always going to need it. And if you're eligible for it, why not use it and take advantage of it right now in the moment? And it wasn't until I said that he sort of, you could just see his shoulders just sort of relax and be like, okay, I'm in a safe place kind of thing. And, I shared with him what I went through. And, one of the common things is I don't want to be dependent on welfare. And I was like, no, you're not. You're not.
Yeah.
We're here to help you when you need us. And once you don't need us, then, then that's it. So yeah, definitely, just treating everyone with respect, sharing your story, and yeah.
And knowing that your story, beyond the fact that it's inspirational to other people, I think also it can make somebody braver about stepping up and asking for help, and it can give them hope for the future. Because sometimes when you need help, you feel like you're always going to need help. You feel like you're never going to be able to be independent on your own again. And so being able to look at somebody else who says, well, I needed help at one point, this was my situation, and then they look at you and you're the CEO of this agency. I mean, you're so accomplished, you've done so much, and you've made a difference for so many other people. Being able to look at you and say, oh, and she needed help too at one point, that can give you a lot of hope for your own future.
Yes. And then that's what I hope that, me sharing my story and my challenges, will do, is inspire somebody and encourage somebody not to be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, one piece of advice that you would give somebody that's just starting out in the nonprofit sector today, what would you say that would be?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. You don't have to know it all. Don't be afraid. Yes, because I think sometimes we're like, okay, well, you're at this leadership role, you should know everything. And so you don't want to ask those questions. No, you know, take, don't worry if somebody else may be having the same question, you're helping them, but truly just not being afraid to ask those questions. It, you always hear about there's no dumb questions, but sometimes you just sort of hear it, but don't really believe it. But there
Yeah.
truly are no dumb questions, because it's asking that question is, you just don't know. It could help you and just make your life a little bit easier.
Good advice. Good advice. All right. This is my final question for today. What is one thing that you would like board members to know? A piece of advice that you could give them about what a CEO needs from their board?
Just to know that, to be there for them, and encouraging them, and just understanding that because they're not in the day-to-day activities of the CEO, they might not know all of the time consuming and everything, but truly being that support. Like my past board members and my current board members have been super supportive and understanding. If they don't understand something, they ask questions. So again, asking questions, but being there as a support system, and be willing to know, especially if they come from the for-profit industry into a nonprofit, to try to really understand that there's some differences. And asking, again, the questions, can this be done? Can this not be done? Why not? So that they can fully feel, part of the conversations and that they understand.
I've been blessed with some really great board members in the past, some that I even, still stay in touch with today, 20 years later. They meant so much to me, and they've been great mentors, helping me to become the leader that I was able to be as an executive director back in the day. But, even today, like in many ways, like as a mom, as a community member, as a volunteer, as a consultant, all of those things, our board members can be so instrumental in our personal and professional growth if we lean into those relationships.
I
But
agree.
it's not always 100%. So I like to ask, what do you think board members need to know? And hopefully lots of board members are listening and will learn a little something from what you're sharing. So thank you so much. You have been an amazing guest today. I appreciate all of your great advice. It's a great opportunity for me to learn from you, and also to be inspired by your story and the work that you do every day, serving hundreds of thousands of people, mostly seniors, but others too, individuals with disabilities, and then their family members, like the ripple effect that you're having across the community of so many counties is really incredible. And I just want to congratulate you on your, your CEO, your 5 years, your 5-year anniversary that just went by on September 1st, and all you've accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for having me and for letting me share a little bit more about my story. And hopefully, maybe after this, we're gonna get more leaders reaching out so that we can help build a peer support group. So that and
perfect. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So how can people find you? So I want to encourage everybody to reach out to Maricela and let her know that you heard her on this podcast, and that you want to connect. So how can they get in touch with you?
They can always call our helpline or our direct number. The office is 239-652-6900. They can always find me on LinkedIn. And
You're a great LinkedIn poster. Yeah.
I try to, I'm trying to pick up my posting, just to, again, build that network of leaders and of just people that you can, maybe touch in a positive way. And so they can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just send me a message and how you heard about connecting with me, and then that will definitely get me to accept. Because sometimes, you get those random robots.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I try to avoid.
that's perfect. And then what's your website? If they want to learn more about your agency,
Yes.
how can they find more information?
Definitely visit our website, which is www.aaaswfl.org.
Wonderful. All right, Maricela, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you being a guest on Impactability.
Thank you so much for having me. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We love to hear from our listeners, so please reach out and let us know what you liked and what else you'd like to hear. You can find our email address and links to our social accounts in the show notes. If you enjoyed hearing from today's guest, we encourage you to reach out and connect with them. See the show notes for their contact information. To get more great content in your inbox each month, sign up for our newsletter at impactability.live. That's impactability.live. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. That way you'll get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. Finally, we'd be grateful if you would give us a positive review or a rating so that your peers in the nonprofit industry can find us as well. From all of us at Impactability, thanks for listening, and thank you for all you do to make the world a better place